Let's learn how to make a face vase. To start out with, you'll need your Moxie mat, 2 cups, and white clay. Be careful when you're opening up the clay bag. You will need to use it again. So open it carefully, don't rip it. Notice how I'm pulling the clay apart. By doing this, I'm activating the clay and getting it ready for us to work. Now I'm going to roll it into a sphere. You can use the mat or between your 2 hands to create a nice sphere. Place that right in the center and smoosh it down like a pancake. We're going to use our Moxie mat to cover it and press down. Cover it and press down. We need to have our clay right in the middle of this color wheel because we're trying to make this pancake as big as the inside circle on the color wheel. Are we there yet? Let's check it out. Pretty close. I just have a little bit more that I have to do right down here. Let's press that down. Okay, let's see if that fills up the whole circle now. It sure does. We're ready to move on using one of the cups. Carefully pull our slab or pancake off from the Moxie mat. We're going to place the cup directly in the center of that pancake. Take a look. Here's the cup. It sits right in the center of the slab of clay. Now we're going to carefully and gently press it around the cup. Notice I'm doing a little bit at a time. It was kind of wrinkly to begin with, but using my hands and being very patient allows me to add the white clay all the way around. Now what I don't want is clay going over the top of this cup. So I'm going to pull that away. You can use your clay tools or your hands for this. The reason this is so important is because we have grass that is already planted. We're going to put that grass cup right inside, just like that. So you can't have a lot of clay going over the edges. All right, I have it pretty smooth along the whole side, but you might experience a little bit of an air bubble happening. If that happens to you, poke a little hole in the bottom and that should release the air. Okay. You're going to repeat this whole thing with the other cup. When both are done, you're going to place them bottom to bottom like this. And then you're going to take your fingers on the inside of each of the cups and press them together. Now, this does not have to be super hard, but you do want to secure the 2 cups together. Now we have to let it dry. Now that the white clay is completely dry, we can add a base color. Take a look. There's zigzags at the top of this clay. I'm going to pull the little edge out like this and then rip it apart. That should allow me to get in to use the clay. We're going to start out the same exact way by pulling it apart to activate it. It's going to pull apart like this. Uh-oh. Our hands are going to warm it up and it will become more silky and more usable the more we manipulate it. You will be surprised how little clay you actually need to cover this entire white. I'm using the thinnest coat that I possibly can, pressing it on and pulling it across. You might have another method to do this as well. I find that this allows me to use the least amount of color so that I can use it throughout the entire white space. I want to add a tail, but I notice I really don't have enough green to make the tail that I want. So I'm going to use the same method we've done before by using white underneath, and then we'll cover it up with the remaining green. I'm shaping my tail is actually what I'm making here, shaping it and pressing it on to my face vase. But here's the big thing. I need to let it dry before I can add any of the green if I want the best results. So let's set the face vase aside, but I do not want this green to dry out while we're waiting for the other piece to dry. So I'm going to open up my Ziploc bag, turn my clay into a coil, a little fat short coil, and that will help me get it into the bag and zip it up tight. After giving the white clay some time to dry, I'm now going to get back into my green, open it up, and start covering the white tail with the green. That's going to unify the tail with the face vase. Because the green was completely dry, at least on the body of the face vase, I can go ahead and get started on the details right away. So I'm going to open up my next color of clay. Then I'm going to activate my color by pulling on it and warming it up, getting it ready to use. I'm going to make my face vase have polka dots. So what I'm doing is rolling my clay into spheres, then pressing it down like itty bitty mini pancakes and pressing it onto the form, the face vase. This is going to stick nice and easy. Before moving on, I'm going to take that clay, roll it into a coil, and place it inside a Ziploc bag. I will need to use this later. Now I can move on to some of the other details that I want to add. Now I'm going to activate some pink. I will be rolling this into a coil. A coil is when you make a snake out of the clay. I'm going to make this into the shape of lips for the mouth. I want the inside of my mouth to be black, so I'm taking my clay and making it into the shape of the mouth. I might need to use my clay tool to actually pull this mouth off, but if I do it nice and careful, I should have an entire piece that I can now add onto my face vase. Sometimes you might add something that you decide, I really don't want that on here. The clay sticks really well together, which is a good thing for most of the time, but when you're trying to get something removed from the clay, it's kind of tough. So this is when we make our whoops into a wow. That means you need to look at the problem that you have been given and figure out a way to solve it. In this case, I'm adding some extra polka dots. Now I'm going to add some extra details throughout the entire face vase. This is going to complete the main part of my face vase. I'm using lots of different colors and adding it on. Sometimes I'm creating on the mat first and adding it onto the face vase later, and sometimes I'm directly adding the clay onto the face vase. In the Moxie kit, you are going to have 3 toothpicks. These toothpicks can come in really handy to create extra things to go into the soil once the grass has grown. In this case, I'm making 3 eyeballs. I'm going to make sure that they're all the same size by using the circles that are on my Moxie mat. So I noticed that this one was a little too big. Now I'm measuring it up. Yep, all 3 of them are the same size. That is what I was going for. Now I'm going to prepare the additional design work that I need for the eyeballs. All 3 of them are going to have a blue iris. The iris is the colored part of your eye. Then all 3 will have a black pupil. The pupil is the dark black part of your eye. We will place them all together and then put a toothpick in the bottom of each of them. I ended up having a little extra white clay, so I made some teeth for the smile of my face vase. Before putting our face vase all together with the grass, the eyeballs, and the base, I'm going to let them dry completely. In the meantime, I can go ahead and make a friend for my face vase. We have a glass, a tall, skinny glass that is in our Moxie kit. We're going to create a friend for our face vase. So we'll start the same way again, starting by adding a white base for our creature. Once we create that base, we're going to give this project some dry time again. That'll help us when we start adding the colors. Just as we did before, we're going to use our colors to add the details. I'll start out exactly the same, creating a base color, and then use other colored clay to make the details for my little buddy for my face vase. There he is, the partner to my face vase. You might have extra clay. This is an opportunity for you to make objects and maybe more characters to go next to your face vase and friend.